Curious how in the gospel today, the Sadducees try to trap Jesus. They're always trying to trap Jesus. They're always trying to give him questions that are gonna have him take a stand on this. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Right? They're always trying to see how they can sneak in a question that they're going to be able to point out to Jesus and say, "Ha, gotcha." You think you can do that to the Son of the living God? You are greatly misled, as the gospel tells us today. What is all of this confusion about? Whether or not who's going to be married after we die, y no sé qué, and how many brothers, and this one got married to that, and it's like un enredo that they present to Jesus, and they're like, okay, solve the problem. He's like, you're distracted. You're not focused on the essential. You're focusing on the secondary. And how many times does confusion in the church begin by not being focused on the essential, on the most important? That's exactly what's going on in this chapter of Mark, chapter 12. And it's curious that at the end of the day, Jesus does give a response, but he responds by pointing to who God is. And he uses the very text that they're citing, because they cite Moses. The Sadducees, remember, they're a group that do not believe in the resurrection of the dead. And you'll always remember this because they're sad, you see. Sadducee, that's a pretty sad thing to think. There's no resurrection. So the Sadducees, okay, you're never going to forget that now. They don't believe in the resurrection, okay? The Pharisees do. They believe in the resurrection. They believe in angels too. And Jesus, who's trying to be pigeonholed by the Pharisees, by the Sadducees, he points out to them, God calls himself the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. He is not a God of the dead. Stop worrying about the stuff about what happens in the afterlife and all these things. He is a God of the living. Focus on what gives life, and life in abundance. As it says in chapter 12 of John, I came so that you might have life, and life in abundance. Everything else is secondary. Everything else is secondary to that one mission that Jesus has for all of his children everywhere on earth and for all creation. And I just want to point out one more phrase in the text of Timothy, which is, for me, is very humbling because it's actually talking about the imposition of hands that Timothy received, right, as a presbyter. Okay, they would have in the New Testament, they're called the priests of the New Testament are called presbyters or the elders, right? And the word in English, priest, comes from that, presbyter, priest, right? But it says, be aware of this gift that you've been given. Y de verdad, yo sentí que este fin de semana que pasó fue un don, un regalo, un regalazo. Más que un regalo, un regalito, no, un regalazo. Tan infinito que lo único que ha acontecido este fin de semana y que continúa aconteciendo es que se está saliendo constantemente la gracia. Everywhere I go, literally, it's crazy. It's just people are so happy. People are just like touched by having gone to that mass, and they were so moved. And some people that haven't gone to mass in years, and they went. And now their phones don't go off anymore. It's crazy. It's crazy. But one of the craziest things for me is that it says here in the letter of St. Timothy, he goes, for this reason, I am reminded you to stir into flame the gift of God that you have that you have through the imposition of my hands. This is Paul talking to Timothy. For God did not give us a spirit of cowardice, but rather of power, love, and self-control. Power, love, and self-control. The Spirit of God grants us these three elements. What are these three elements? Just very brief. Power. We misunderstand these three all the time. Power is not the power of the world. This is the authority that Jesus has. And it's an authority that nobody understands, and that people were amazed by the authority of Jesus. Our power lies not in political means. Our power lies in Jesus Christ alone. And you've been given that power. The spirit of love. Remember, love is not a feeling. Love is a choice. And you are given every day the opportunity to choose love, mercy, forgiveness, when all of your feelings are telling you to do the opposite. The power of love. And lastly, the power of self-control. What is self-control? A veces nos podemos, especialmente los hombres, queremos tomarnos el mundo por frente haciéndolo todos nosotros. I'm in control. Self-control. I organize everything. I know what to do, what not to do, and I'm gonna make myself a saint. I'm not gonna break any of the commandments. I'm gonna do it. Have we ever fallen into that trap? I know I have. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna become a saint. That's not the gift of self-control that we're talking about here. Real self-control viene cuando reconocemos that the control that we have over ourselves comes only from allowing ourselves to be controlled by the Spirit. All is gift. All is grace. Let us ask that our lives, as we approach the altar now, as we approach the liturgy of the Eucharist, may all of our being, all of our lives, everything that we're dealing with, the good, the bad, and the ugly, let's place it on that altar so that it too can be transformed and changed for the greater glory of God. Que así sea. Amén.